Per PW Insider, Vice TV has renewed Dark Side of the Ring for a 5th season. It is expected to premiere in March, which is a pretty quick turnaround. So they've obviously been working on new episodes for a while if they're turning a new season around in 2 months. Last season gave us episodes on Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch. If only they would have held off one season, they could have had the perfect ending for it. They had a Doink the Clown episode, a Bam Bam Bigelow episode. Season finale covered the batshit insanity of Marty Jannetty. So you ask yourself, what topics are left for them to cover in Season 5? Well, they haven't announced any yet, but the producers previously talked about having an interest in doing episodes on Scott Hall and Mike Awesome, but it got leaked. And friends of theirs who they would have wanted to interview, they got cold feet, and they've been very resistant to talking to the show about them. So I don't know if those are going to happen or not. Either one of those would be good subjects for the show. Scott Hall obviously is a bigger name, bigger star than Mike Awesome was. Would probably do better numbers for them. But I've jotted down a list of a whole bunch of others. You could get a Season 5 and 6 out of these. The WWF Ring Boy scandal from the early 90s is one that always comes up. A lot of people have asked about that over the years. I don't think it's likely at this point just because who's left for them to even interview about it, right? Outside of Dave Meltzer. Vince McMahon is not going to sit down for that. Pat Patterson is dead, as are most of the people who sat on stage on the Phil Donahue show in that infamous episode. Bruno's gone. Billy Graham is gone. Randy Orton's uncle, Barry O, is gone. Tom Cole, who was at the center of the whole scandal, he died 2 years ago. I mean, they like having a bunch of talking heads on these episodes, and I just don't know that they have enough interesting ones to do it. The Ken Shamrock Nasty Boy story is one that I jotted down because I just talked about it not that long ago. It was only weeks ago on the podcast. Somebody asked me a question about it, and I talked about how the Nasty Boys, or SAGs in particular, almost killed Ken Shamrock. Because Shamrock was a wrestler before he ever fought in the UFC. Before UFC was even a thing. He was a wrestler. And that's you could do a whole episode out of that. There's Jerry Lawler, if they want to touch that one. Jerry Lawler's indictment on rape charges in 1993. That was a big scandal. They could do one on the Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view from 1999. That would be one of those lighter episodes, like the Brawl for All one they did, or the Bash at the Beach 2000 one. From last season. I'll have you know, that review that I did on the Bash at the Beach episode got more traffic than any of the other reviews that I did for the entire season. I think it had like over 50,000 views or something like that. And there were some interesting topics I thought would do really well, that did do well, but this one just blew them all out of the water. That's why they do them. So I think you're going to see more episodes like that. Heroes of Wrestling, it might not be as well known as the Montreal Screwjob or the Bash at the Beach 2000 incident, but that's definitely one that I think they could consider. I'll throw one in there. How about Jeff Hardy and the Victory Road incident from the TNA pay-per-view in 2011? How about that one? You could do episodes on Chris Adams, which is supposedly one that they have worked on. I don't know if that's confirmed, but I think a Chris Adams episode, given his whole tumultuous story, that could be an episode. Art Barr, Eddie Guerrero's old partner. Perry Saturn. I don't even know where Perry is these days. I know he was missing for so many years, and then he resurfaced, and then you don't hear anything about him again. But if they can get Perry Saturn to sit down for an interview, I think you could do an episode on his life. The Ashley Massaro story is a very sad one. I mean, that's probably the very definition of Dark Side of the Ring. Daphne is another one. Here's one that I would like to see. Sweet and Sour Larry Sweeney. Why not do an episode on Larry Sweeney and cover his issues with bipolar disorder? Larry Sweeney, for those who don't know, and it's sad that a lot of people don't, but if you were following the independent wrestling scene, Ring of Honor and CZW and all those promotions back in the mid to late 2000s, you may have heard the name Larry Sweeney. Larry Sweeney, I think, was on his way, potentially, to being kind of the Bobby Heenan of our generation. He could wrestle, but he was a great manager, a great mouthpiece. He was just this very eccentric personality. No matter what he was doing or saying, he always commanded your attention. He was very good at what he did. But he also had a lot of issues. And unfortunately, it led to him taking his own life. And if you know how it happened and how he was discovered, I mean, it's very, very sad. And he had a lot of friends in the wrestling industry. A lot of people that are on WWE television right now and AEW television right now were very close to Larry Sweeney. And because he was never in WWE and he wasn't around long enough to be part of an AEW, there are a lot of people that don't know him and that don't know his story. I would like to see an episode devoted to him. And of course, Chris Jericho, narrated by Chris Jericho. Coming soon. It might be too early for season 5. That could be season 6 or 7, maybe. One more thing on this. Last year, Buff Bagwell claimed that the producers of the show were doing an episode on him, and they even took him and his father out to a shooting range for it. The same father that he shot when he was 18 years old for allegedly beating up his mother. So that may be one of the episodes this season. They have lots to choose from, unfortunately, with the wrestling business. There's no shortage of material. The only question is, because of the show's reputation, how difficult is it for them to get people to go on camera and talk about some of these things?